We are live. So, welcome to An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house this morning, this afternoon, not tonight. I've got Marty over there in Dublin from the Trash Picture Show. What's happening, man?
Hey, thanks for having us on, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro. It's all good. It's all good. We don't get to do this often enough. You jumped in, I think, on the Secret Invasion chat last week, so it was good to catch up that way. And we discussed getting into something we wanted to cover for a while, and that's season 1 of Genndy Tartatovsky's Primal, which is just one of the best. It seems to do it a disservice to call it an animated series, just one of the best series, action series that I've seen in a very, very long time. These are 10-episode seasons, 20-minute, they're almost vignettes, but they are, every fucking second is just breathtaking and lean, and you're just engrossed and engaged the entire time. How did you find this series? And give me some initial thoughts on, what you think of it on the whole.
I'm a big fucking dinosaur nerd. I love my Jurassic Park. I was floating around on some forums and stuff, and someone put up a thing, Genndy Tartatovsky's doing a series involved in dinosaurs. And I was like, ooh, that sounds titillating. So I waited a couple of months and someone put up the trailer, and I was fucking blown away. This, as you said, calling an animation doesn't do it justice. This transcends animation. This is cinematic. This is an absolute cinematic experience.
Yeah.
The other cool thing is, for any younger viewers, maybe you guys have watched it, Samurai Jack. I got a very Samurai Jack vibe off it. Tartakovsky was definitely doing Kurosawa vibe with Samurai Jack. Very minimalistic in dialogue. With this, you've got the same thing. You have spear and fan, man and beast, primordial grunts are the main form of communication in this, and everything is done visually, and that is the sign of a fantastic creator.
Yeah, that is one of the things that blew me away when I first discovered it, because I remember Tartakovsky from the Clone Wars. People give credit to Dave Filoni for the Clone Wars, but Genndy got there first with that great fucking 2D animation that he pulled off. And each season is like, I don't think they're even seasons, they're volumes. Yeah, 1 or 2 volumes, a little over an hour each, with 5 or 6 minute, little vignettes that are just beautiful to fucking watch. And so when I heard that he was doing something like this, I heard it on another live stream. I dug right into it. And what I was actually blown away by was the fact that at least in the first season, there is no fucking dialogue. I think you have to get to the 9th episode before you hear a single word being uttered. It is all completely through exclusively the visual medium. And it's fucking mesmerizing.
It is cool. It is that's the kind of the bar of proficiency for a creator when they can tell a story without dialogue. It's the same with comics. Some of the best kind of comics I've read have had no word bubbles. They've all been done via visually. And Tartakovsky is fucking spectacular at doing that.
Yeah, this goes past entertainment into art.
Most
I
definitely.
guess you could argue that any particular kind of animation or filmmaking is art, but it's not. If you really have a reasonable or somewhat strict or conservative definition of art, this is fucking art. I just couldn't believe it. And the story revolves around Spear and Fang, who in the first episode Both have their families. I mean, in the first 5 minutes, you're watching Spear have his family eaten in front of him.
Yeah.
By some sort of, T-Rex or, dinosaur, eats his wife, eats his two children. He can't do anything about it. He goes on this sort of tear of revenge. And I can't tell if he just breaks into the wrong nest or if he's just looking to hurt anyone over what's happened, and picks the cave of Fang, who is actually also a mother. It looks like a mother to two small little fledgling dinosaurs. A fight ensues, but that's interrupted again by the same group of T-Rex type monsters who proceed to eat Fang's children. So within the first 20 minutes, you're just watching these two main characters have their families completely decimated, and they end up forming a sort of symbiotic relationship and dependency on each other to survive, where everything all the time is trying to kill them. And they're trying to, it's kill or be killed to survive in this setting.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because a weaker or a lesser well-helmed show would have it that Fang would be Spear's pet. That would be the case, but it's never that. They're always on equal footing. The other thing that struck me with that first episode as well was the scene where Spear is contemplating suicide. The bit where he's just standing on the verge of that cliff face, and he's thinking about taking his own life. And again, no dialogue, but it's just so well crafted and so well directed. All the information for you is there, and you are immediately in the character's head.
You wouldn't think that you could have an extremely articulate storyline with no dialogue, but this is just fucking perfect. And there are so many human qualities to this. You've got beauty in this. You've got savagery. It's very complex. You've got loyalty. It's fucking fantastic as they move. I mean, there doesn't seem to be, at least in the first season, any sort of concrete plan as they just move through the world trying to survive various things that are trying to kill them. But they do their fair share of killing as well. When you get to the episode with the woolly mammoths, they just find an old mammoth that's been separated from his, his pack, and they just descend on it and kill it for food and to eat, and to use the fur for shelter and for clothing in the cold weather, which ends up turning the whole pack against them when they double back and realize that they not only killed it, but sort of desecrated the body, picking it apart for pieces.
The other thing I liked about this show is, and it isn't preachy about it. It's not in your face. It's not in your face, but it isn't afraid to explore ideals and concepts of spirituality, be it man or beast. There seems to be, with the mammoths, for example, I think they're going to like an elephant graveyard. They're escorting this elder member, and they seem to have some kind of ritual. And Spear and Fang, they give as good as they get. But then they realize we can't beat this entire herd, and Spear realizes these mammoths are like us. They've lost a family member, and they need to do what they need to do to help this family member pass on to the other side. If I could be looking into it a bit deeper than I am, but I don't think so. There is explorations of how people grieve and mourn. The another fantastic episode that does that is the one with the witches, which I think is an amazing episode. Also, hello to Trenchy in the chat.
Yeah. Well, tell me, I was going to get to that when you're finished. So we got Trenchy here, says, hey, what's up? I've only seen the first season, but I really enjoyed that first season. Yeah, it's fucking fantastic. This is streaming right now on Max, which formerly was HBO as a few weeks ago. But both seasons are up there on Max if you've got it. They're up there right now, and you could watch them. Like I said, you can kill a whole season in a couple of. If you got an afternoon to yourself, don't necessarily sit in front of the screen for that long, but you could if you wanted to. It's really good fucking stuff. The idea that we had to look at the second episode where they sort of form boundaries with each other. Where initially Fang is stealing all the food. And just well, I'm stronger than you. I can do it because it's basic Darwinism out there. Survival of the fittest. And if you're not strong enough to take it from me, well, then I'm going to take it from you. And then, they sort of develop, the rapport deepens into, just, kind of a friendship. Well, it actually does become a friendship. It's an outlandish premise. And if you were to hear of it, it's like something a 5-year-old would conceive of if they had those plastic toys that we all had when we were kids. And you have the caveman and you sit them on top of the dinosaur and the dinosaur runs and they form a team. And, it really is like a 5-year-old's sort of daydream. But, it's turned into this beautiful piece of art. And I can't say enough good things about it. You get to the one episode with the bats that are descending on, that one community that's just hiding under rocks and in caves. Just really, there's a fair share of gore and blood in this. It's not, some kids kind of cartoon like we grew up with on Saturday morning. That first episode, you're literally watching small children being eaten, and it's just taken as a matter of course.
Yeah, another thing this show does really well is horror. As you said, Under the Blood Red Moon, with the I felt that was a very Lovecraftian episode. You had these kind of bat-like sapien creatures that worship this giant spider on the top of a monolith, and they're like, Jesus fuck, this is like something out of a Lovecraft novel. And it does horror really well. There's 3 episodes. My favorite one out of the lot is I think does horror fantastically, and I'll get to that one when we discuss it. But again, this Tartatovsky can do. He has the whole kind of pulp, because as you said, it is a very juvenile premise. You have a caveman and a dinosaur teaming up, but in its essence as well, there is something. I was discussing this with you before we started the stream. The first season is very Edgar Rice Burroughs, man against nature, creature against nature, very primordial, where the second season is more Robert E. Howard, very Conan, barbarian versus primitive civilizations and whatnot. But I think the first season really cuts its teeth with that, and the lack of dialogue really makes it kind of work that bit harder to keep the audience engaged.
Yeah, because by the time we get towards the end of the season, I got the impression that, the world itself was on the verge of some kind of evolution. And he was, that last leftover of the old world. You get the impression it's because I don't want to give away too much for people who haven't seen it, but you get the impression that it's moving into something else, and he's just right on the border of that, where it could he might cross over. He could possibly cross over into something, but that the world itself is getting ready to shift.
Yeah, like you could, if without giving away spoilers or something, you could kind of maybe predict that Spear is on some kind of distant continent that's away from all these other continents. And as you said, this is a holdover from a prior Mesozoic era. Like, that but things are changing. Things come to the shore that will astronomically change Spear and Fang's fate, be it for good or bad.
Yeah. When we get to the episode with is it the rise of the ape men or the rage of the? I mean, that was you've got these sort of religious cults, almost like a Planet of the Apes kind of hierarchy, where the apes are commanding these gorillas who are like, the sort of general soldiers, used in these sorts of pit fights against other species. You saw, other species when we got to the Batman, and you saw, there was like a Triceratops that was already killed. He tries to shake this Triceratops to get him into the fight, but he's already dead. And then when we get to the ape men, we see that the skulls, of all the different.
All
it's
the animals.
It's almost like a predator. Yeah.
Yeah. They've conquered all these beasts, and when the kind of warrior apes go in, as a helmet, they have to pick the what they think is the best skull, and I thought that was fantastic as well. You have yes, Spear is still very primitive in the accolades of humankind, but he's fucking top tier, big brain when it comes to like these hominoid kind of ape men, or the poor wretches that were hiding under a rock from the Batman. He has that advantage that he's just that bit sharper, not by much, mind, but just that bit sharper.
Yeah. But I mean, again, you're seeing, that there are several different levels to the sort of, humanoid, sort of thing that's going on here, these things that live constantly in fear. And then you've got, the ape men that are like almost at the verge of, turning into a spear level type person, this evolution that's about to occur. They've almost got religion happening there, some sort of prehistoric kind of blood religion that's just about blood sacrifice and these sorts of things. And then you've got, and it doesn't last long. It lasts 10 minutes into the first episode. You've got Spear, who actually has an established family. It's not a community, it's just two children. You see these flashbacks teaching his son how to hunt. This sort of not cruelty based sort of survival, things that just happen by necessity. Hold on a second. We've got the witch episode was really good. Was really good too. Really fleshed out a character in a short amount of time with no talking. That episode was brutal, and it showed stakes because Fang was hurt after that episode, and that led to a great survival episode where Spear had to think of ways to protect Fang. We're talking about Scent of Prey, where he has to fend off all the predators that can kind of smell death.
That was cool as well, because usually the Deus Ex Machina for Spear is Fang's kind of brute force and teeth usually get him out of a tight spot. But it's a reverse. Instead of like Fang saving Spear's hole, it's him having to protect Fang from these kind of hyena kind of hunting dog things. And he's using his noodle again. He realizes he can't kill the bugs, but he realizes he can scoop out the stuff and use the bug shell like brass knuckles. I thought that was cool as well. That was cool.
There's a place for each of them, and where we have Fang's brute strength and teeth, here with Spear we have higher order thinking.
Or ingenuity.
Some semblance of it. Because without that, Fang would have gotten killed. Those things would have just pounced on him, and he's weak, and he wouldn't have had enough time to recover. Amazing fucking show, and it surprises. Actually, it doesn't surprise me at this point. I mean, I'm in the third year of this. How this show never gets talked about at all. It's a very small, niche kind of show that a lot of people really just don't know about. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Because why do you think it's that way?
Well, the sad fact of the matter is, if you want to be a quote unquote adult animated show, you have to kind of be the likes of South Park or Rick and Morty. You have to have the kind of crude humor and the kind of meta contextual humor and stuff. Whereas this is just like an old school pulp story. And again, I'm like I do believe that society does need to progress, but I think as well there is things like, oh, this is a very kind of alpha male kind of show. This doesn't really have any place in a newer PC kind of culture. It's like, no, don't start with this shit. I get the feeling that this is kind of looked down upon because it is pulp, and I do understand that Mike. I'm probably going to be using that term a lot in this stream, but I think people kind of don't like pulp stories because they automatically think they're chauvinistic. They automatically think, oh, James Bond, spy movies, westerns, all that stuff. They're like, oh, that's from a bygone era, and I think that sadly falls into this category as well, and it really fucking shouldn't, because it's not about gender, it's not about equality, it's about fucking survival, and that's the cool thing about it. And
Go ahead.
no, I just think unless you're some kind of South Park kind of memeing or parody or crude humor kind of TV show, you're not going to be taken as a legitimate animated show for adults. That's my thinking.
I think that, yeah, I mean, the what was I forget what the animated shows are now, but the whole too clever by half kind of things. Not Futurama, but I can't forget the one that I like. I never watched those things anymore. I think I've seen one episode of South Park, because it just, again, too clever by half. But I think you're right in that this does have a very hyper masculine kind of thing. It's just whether you consider that sort of association to be a negative. I mean, because clearly, I mean, look at that. This is not some touchy feely. It's emotive. It's emotive. Don't misunderstand me. And that's part of what makes it great. But I mean, look at that shot. Look at that shot. That's just fucking fantastic. And it does probably appeal perhaps to a smaller demographic, or people who might look at that and say, well, that's just toxic masculinity, or, some sort of thing. But at the end of the day, I've noticed, what I've noticed is that some of the best things, and this is just over a period of time, not in, today's PC world or, politically charged climate. I think that the very best things stay small, with few exceptions.
Yeah.
The very best things stay in a small sort of demographic. We were talking this week about Dune. Not a lot of people, know what Dune is. It's one of the top sci-fi stories out there. Very few people have read the book. They didn't see Villeneuve's. I was talking to Eric. He's like, I still haven't seen it yet. I was talking to my buddy Ryan. He still hasn't seen it yet. I had Bill on the show on Monday. I had no idea. I've known Bill for 35 years. He told me when we got on the show, that was the first time he had seen it. So, I mean, sometimes the highest quality of things, just for whatever reason, the majority tends to fall away. I'm okay with that as long as they continue to make them, the best possible things.
I'm with you as well. I like when something, as I calls it, James Dean's it, where it punches its ticket before it goes on too long to fuck up. And I think Primal is one of those things. Now, apparently we're getting a season 3.
Yeah.
And if we do, I definitely hope that that's the last season, because
I trust Genndy to continue to. Genndy is in the tradition of Del Toro and Villeneuve, and maybe Eggers and Astor and Brandon Cronenberg, where they clearly are fanboys. They're fanboys of their own shit, and to the source material that these sorts of things stem from. Like you said, Robert E. Howard. Like you said, Burroughs. Where Tarzan is not some kindly, sort of, guy who breaks up, fights. I just got a chance to read Tarzan of the Apes for the first time in a long time. And I mean, it's just fucking brutal. He's just murdering left and right there in the jungle. He's killing Black Africans. He's killing, the explorers that are coming in there, or he's letting them, these people that he deems to be bad people just get chewed up by the animals. It's savage shit. And I hope that that never I hope that never goes away, because then we'd be denied shit like this. But I'm trusting Genndy to get it right. Hold on a second. Trenchy says, I thought he was doing a new cartoon called Unicorn. I think he is. I follow Genndy on IG, and I think he did mention something about Unicorn. And again, if you get a chance, check out those Clone Wars, man. These Clone Wars are hot.
Yeah,
I loved what Filoni did, but yeah.
They're bite-sized universe builders.
Yeah,
those episodes are fantastic, and again, very very minimalistic in the dialogue. Minimalistic in the dialogue.
Yeah, again, a lot done through expression. When you see the first little section where Anakin goes on some mission, and then he just turns around, and there's Padme, just giving him that look. And it just says everything. Like there's no need to say anything.
That's all you need. Mike, I gotta ask you again. It's an immaculate series, but if you had to pick one episode from the first season that you cherish or you think is brilliant, or am I putting you on the spot?
No, I would go with the first episode.
Any particular reason, or is just the setup is so perfect?
I think the setup is absolutely perfect. The setup is absolutely perfect. Like you could just release that one thing, and I'd be like, "What the fuck did I just see?" If he had just done this one thing, he's like, I'm just doing a short film.
Yeah.
If he had just released this as a short, I'd be like, "What the fuck was that?" No dialogue, savagery, but at the same time, pain, and just, fantastic fucking action. Yeah, that first episode sets up everything.
And like we were saying as well, yeah, it is a very masculine driven thing, but there is an emotional depth to it. We're not fucking saying this is all like there is high levels of badassery in this show.
Yeah,
like
but it's emotive.
But there's a heart to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's not. I don't know. The best sort of savage things do have heart to it. If you look at Milius's Conan, he's fucking heartbroken when Valeria dies.
Yeah, it's
it's a misconception, whether deliberate or unintentional, that these sorts of things don't have feeling to them. They do, but it's just the way people look at them through their own filter, and so they see what they want to see. Hold on a second. Trenchy says, are you talking about the original Clone Wars cartoon? Yes. I think it was on Cartoon Network with that awesome Grievous fight. Yes. I love General Grievous.
That was kick-ass. My favorite episode, again, another horror episode. I'm not going to give too much away. It's Plague of Madness. Okay. So imagine 28 days later. And what they do, like Tartatovsky could easily have infected some big scary dinosaur, but he does something so clever. He takes the most docile and recognizably docile dinosaur. The Brontosaurus. Everyone remembers the Brontosaurus from the start.
Yeah, it's everybody's favorite.
It's this big, majestic, gentle giant. And it gets infected. And the realization that this thing is now an unstoppable tidal wave of destruction. Fang can't bite it. Fang can probably smell that this thing is fucking plagued or corrupted. So he can't bite. So all it can do is run. And even the ending, I'm not going to give away the ending, but there is a level of sympathy, which is actually very much contradicted in the following episode. Another great horror episode, where Spear genuinely feels bad for the creature when it initially meets its fate. I'm not going to go too much into it, but that's a fantastic episode because they usually, the two of them work together to get out of a situation, or they initially get a grasp on the situation. They are just running. They all the other times they've stopped and fought whatever terror or whatever kind of
even the mammoths, they fought the mammoths. Yeah.
But this, they can't do shit. All they can do is run because this thing is so immense and
Yeah,
so fucking laden with anger. Again, it's a brontosaurus with the rage virus from 28 Days Later. It's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
It's a wonderful episode.
yeah. I think that this guy on the whole is just underappreciated. But you know something, I've come to discover over time, looking at films and these franchises and things, that probably that allows him a certain freedom by not being grabbed up by the big production houses, so on and so forth, and doing these other sorts of things. He's just allowed to make art the way that he wants to.
Yeah,
Like I think Del Toro said, the rest of his career, he's probably just going to work in animation. There might be the occasional exception, but I think he just wants the freedom to create. Just leave me alone. Let me create. You heard the hell stories from like when he was working with the Weinsteins on like Mimic, which I like Mimic. I think it's not his best film, but it's still a good Del Toro film. These guys, if they stay small, they're allowed to do what they want to do.
yeah, you can work under the radar and you don't have to answer to studios and stuff. I think that's what like the likes of Carpenter and Romero realized, that if they ended up, and we've seen the result of that. We saw that like Land of the Dead, while fun, what was a bit of a shit show, and that's what happens when you go into the studio machine. You're basically creatively shackled.
Look what happened with Raimi going into Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Visually, it's a beautiful movie to watch. Beautiful. If you like, just watch it with the volume. Like if you turn the mute button on and just said, we're watching a silent movie, it's stunning. But you're like, what the fuck kind of story is this? Like, it just makes no fucking sense. So yeah, I mean, if you want to create, stay in a place where you're free to create. Where you have, creative license and people are going to support you, or leave you alone. And make it happen that way.
I definitely kind of well, personal experience when I don't know if you know, Mike, but myself and my friends had started doing comics back in the day, and we got some notoriety. We got Irish Times Best kind of comic.
I didn't know. I had no idea. That's cool.
And we were doing really well, and then a particular company came along, and they were like, "Oh, we like your stuff." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, do you want to come under our banner?" And we were going to go under their banner, and then we got a list. Can't do this. Can't do this. Can't do this. This is chauvinistic. This is too violent. This is. I was like, "Yeah, no, fuck this. I'm out." One of the lads did want to stick it out because he. In fairness, he realized that it was a ladder to a destination he wanted to go to.
Right, yeah.
I didn't, and I just think the bigger you get, or the bigger organizations you go with, the more creatively you're stifled. And I think that goes from if you're making $1 million movies to fucking $1,000 comics. That's the way it's gonna go.
Yeah, the stockholders and those guys sitting and girls sitting around the board, eventually, put those zip ties on you, man. Huh?
It's like that scene from RoboCop 2, with like, oh, and you know what? Maybe he shouldn't use that gun so much. RoboCop.
Well, I mean, you've just got something fantastic on our hands here. I am proud to own it. I'm proud to talk about it, and I'm proud to get out here with you. And if one other person sees this and gets turned on to it, then as far as I'm concerned, it's done its job.
I'm also going to say, Mike, because you said it was on Max. For anyone on my side of the pond, if you have More 4, that's a British TV streaming station. It's on More 4 as well. If you want to check it out there as well, both seasons are up.
Okay, so there it is. Is there anything that you wanted to discuss that you feel we didn't get into that you'd want to
No,
talk about?
I think we covered all the angles. The other stuff I do want to discuss, I think we should save that for season 2, because
you want to do season 2 next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Sounds good.
Cool. But But yeah, again, guys, you have to check out this series. I implore you to check out this show because it's awesome.
So, why don't you, while you're here, and I'll put the link to your channel in the description, plug something. You got anything coming up?
I done a stream last night with my gorgeous girlfriend and a collection of fantastic folks discussing B movies. Jen, as some kind of twisted early or late April Fools, we do a thing called Trash Fire, and we review some of the weirdest, suckiest, and strangest movies. Jen, I don't know what I did. I don't know if she had a dream that I was fucking another woman. Decided, hey, let's review Jack and Jill from Adam Sandler, and we reviewed that. Look, I'll tell you one thing. Al Pacino is the saving grace of that movie. I don't know what blackmail or little black book Sandler has with all these celebrity names in it, but somehow he pulls them in. And the sad thing is, the dude can fucking act, because I don't know if you've seen it, Mike, but definitely check out Uncut Gems, because
where he's the jewel shyster.
Yeah, it's like, I think Sandler's thinking is, well, I can have about his movies, I can have 2 Michelin restaurants that are high quality that no one will come to, or I can make all these fucking Happy Meal movies, McDonald's movies that I guarantee an audience, and I think that's his grift.
And get paid, yeah. People, yeah. I remember, I think it was Peter Cushing. He said, I'd love to do Shakespeare. He goes, but people want to see me do Frankenstein and Van Helsing, so that's what I do. You go where they want you, I guess. So otherwise, you become like Lugosi. All right, so check out Trash Picture Show. He's got some really good stuff up there when he's not doing weird things with Harley Quinn action figures.
I'm so lucky I have a girlfriend, because
yeah. She's a good character reference for you. So, check out his channel. I'll put a link to the description. I should have said this in the beginning. This is streaming on my second channel, American Werewolf EU, where I'm going to be putting longer streams from now on there. Shorter things, I'll probably put on the standard American Werewolf channel. I will be back today at 4 p.m. giving my thoughts, and I've got a lot to say about this, actually, on the upcoming Superman Legacy, which looks like it may or may not drop. Who knows? But I've actually got a few things to say about it, and I'll be doing that at 4 o'clock. Hold on a second. Trenchy says, I heard Sandler's agent kept him from a lot of big roles. Possible. A lot of times these people have very bad management. You may not even hear that a role has been presented to you because, you've got a gatekeeper there preventing you from getting any information. Okay. Thanks, Trenchy. He says, great stream. Appreciate it, man. We'll see you. We'll be back next week, Marty and I, to cover season 2. Marty, don't take off. Okay, I'm going to do the outro, and then we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.